What is the Reves test, and what does this important landmark test tell us about cryptocurrencies and whether or not they're securities? Hello, welcome to the show. Today we are going to talk about the Reves test. So similar to the Howey test, this is a Supreme Court case that is kind of pivotal in helping us try to figure out which cryptocurrencies are securities and which are not. I've been closely following the SEC Ripple case for some time now, and that is really the critical issue of this case. Is XRP a commodity, a currency, or is it a security? And unfortunately, as of recording this, we do not have any clear legislation from the U.S. government, the Congress, whose job it is to make laws, and they have not made a law around which are considered security and which are not. So we have kind of been left in the meantime to rely on the SEC to take enforcement action against particular businesses in a way to have the courts make this outcome when in fact it actually should be done by Congress. So one of the cases that people are using to figure out whether or not XRP is a security is the Howey test, but another one that's equally insightful is what is called the Reves test. So back in 1990, a farmers co-op went and raised a bunch of money. They sort of sold these promissory notes to investors, promising a return on investment. And unfortunately, it didn't really work out. They ended up going out of business. And the people who gave money were kind of unhappy about that, which not a big surprise. And they ended up suing Ernst & Young, who was the auditor associated with the project. I guess they figured the farmers co-op had no money, so there wasn't much point in suing them, but Ernst & Young had money, so they went after them. And it did give some good clarity as to what types of notes are considered a security and which are not. So the general idea is that if you ask someone to invest in your project, your business, and you promise them a return, meaning they're going to make money on it, that's basically a security. And unfortunately, though, or not all promissory notes are securities. A promissory note is sort of a loan. And generally with a loan, you pay interest. So, if I loan you money and you pay me back with interest, I did get a return on my investment. Like, I made some money. So that's where it gets to be kind of vague. Like, is that return simply an interest payment that's transactional, or is it the result of some sort of effort on the part of the person you loaned the money to? That's why I think there's some ambiguity here, and we've relied on these court cases to clear it up. So one interesting thing that came out of the Reves case was this time delineation. And they determined that if you are issuing a note, basically this loan, and the loan will be paid back in less than 9 months, it's not considered a security. I guess the idea is that that's not enough time to build a business that generates profit to create a return on that investment. Because the reality is there is a whole lot of loans given and issued in the world of business that are definitely not securities. And one great example of this is manufacturing or the supply chain. So if I'm a supply chain participant and I manufacture something, let's say I even just import widgets from China, and I have to pay all these people in the supply chain along the way, like the barge and the people at customs who process it and some staff who manages it. I don't necessarily have cash to pay for all that stuff. So what I would likely do is take out a short-term loan, use the loan money to pay off all the people along the way, and then when the widgets get to me and I turn around and sell the widgets to a distributor, and the distributor pays me, I take that money and I pay off the loan. So this was a way for me to fund operations. I wasn't borrowing that money from somebody who had an expectation that my hard work was going to create a return on that investment. And that is where this idea of a note comes in. It's a promissory note. and that not all promissory notes are securities. So if it's being done to fund day-to-day business operations, and if it's being returned within 9 months, then it is not considered a security, and therefore doesn't need to go through the rigorous registration of securities and filing with the SEC and all the types of things that are associated with selling a security. And when it comes to XRP and Ripple, the platform that Ripple is using XRP for, called ODL, is essentially a short-term loan platform. So if you are a country or a bank in a country and you have to send money from one of your bank clients to a bank in another country, you might, and you don't have that other country's currency, you could go to this ODL platform and you immediately borrow some XRP, you make the swap, and then you send the fund that the recipient wants in the correct currency and correct denomination. And so it's a whole series of short-term loans that are used to support bank transactions. They are not used for a return on investment. A bank does not buy XRP because they expect Ripple to go out and make some kind of product that will be sold and the profit will be shared with the bank. That's not what's happening. So I think it's pretty clear that XRP is not a security, and the Reves test helps clarify that, in that Ripple is issuing these short-term loans via the ODL platform, and nobody is expecting a return on that investment because it is done to support financing for operations. And an interest payment on money is not the same thing as kind of a security return on investment, because maybe it's because it's set and established. You're going to pay this exact rate, where when you invest in a stock, you don't necessarily know the exact return. You hope for a big one, but that's not clear at the time that you buy it. All right, so that is my summary of the Reves test. I'm not going to claim to be an expert on it, but I think that it is interesting and insightful if you are looking to understand the differences between securities and currencies, especially as they relate to the digital asset and crypto space. So if you like this type of content, please feel free to subscribe to my channel, and please like the video. That helps me out a lot. And if you like this type of thing, join me in my locals community where we talk about geopolitics, blockchain technology, and the future of money. That's twostepsahead.locals.com, and I'll put the link in the description as well. All right, I will see you in the next video.